the sports cards market has changed a lot. Remember when prices were skyrocketing and people were flipping boxes at Target, flipping boxes at Walmart, and influencers were telling you, like, what's the next best, biggest investment? Well, those days are kind of gone. But here's the thing, the bubble didn't just pop like everyone expected. Instead, we're kind of in a weird, I guess you can call it like a dangerous phase where things seem to be stable, but under the surface where really nobody can see, there are still traps waiting to burn collectors and investors. So today I'm trying to expose the untold truth behind sports card and the sports card bubble, and I guess how it got so inflated, who's to blame, and what the future holds in the next 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever that could be. So stick around, because at the end of this video, I'm going to break down just one thing that can send the market, I guess you could say, into a real crash. So the first thing I wanted to kind of just go over was the boom and the bust cycle, like how we got here. Quick history: 2020, 2021, 2020, 2019, you had the COVID crisis, and the card boom really took off in the 2020s, right? 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it really took off. I was watching it from afar. I wasn't really getting into it. And from people sitting around all day, being out of a job or being out of work for a couple of weeks, but still getting paid, working remotely, doing other things, the card market for some reason just took off. And cards are still being produced during this lockdown, and people had more time to do stuff. So they took on sports cards, baseball cards, football cards, hockey cards, whatever that could be. Pokemon, same thing. And the COVID, it kind of really started everything into this kind of crazy bubble that we're in now. We got stimulus money. Everybody got a check for a certain amount of money. And a lot of people use those checks, for stock markets, for sports, for their kids and things like that, even though some of the sports got canceled. But a lot of people use this for sports cards. And the sports card market just took off like no one expected. It was like the last thing that at least I expected, and I'm sure maybe you have expected too, in 2020 for sports cards to take off because of the lockdowns. So the nostalgia started happening. You have now 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds, 40-year-olds coming of age, making a certain amount of money, able to buy into what they collected when they were a kid. And this is like a big time on like the 80s and 90s, where now you have 35 and 40-year-olds starting to get into the sports car field again. And it was a perfect time for lockdown and going after that. So that's why a lot of times you're going to look back on years and years and years and seeing how this market boomed and what was the start of that. How did demand skyrocket? So demand skyrocketed, and you had a surplus of demand because you had people with stimulus checks and people with money and wanting to buy sports cards and looking into the market and trying to get into the market and things like that. And that led to a high demand where supply wasn't ready for that. High demand, that led to inflated prices and mass FOMO. If you don't know what FOMO is, it's the fear of missing out. Like, oh, I'm going to miss out on this rookie. I'm going to miss out on this guy's card, or whoever that could be. And people started buying loads and loads and loads of cards, and that drove up demand. And the supply went down, so the prices, simple inflation, not inflation, but simple economics, shot up. And that's kind of where we're at today. The market really didn't fully crash, like I guess you could say like the late 90s, how the market crashed, or the 80s when the wax pack era came up and there was so much of a high surplus of cards and not a lot of demands. But it shifted. And it shifted for people that, I guess, people who overpaid, they're kind of stuck for all the cards that they overpaid for, while still smart money is still quietly making moves under the scenes. And here's the thing. There's still a major threat that could send this whole entire thing crashing for real. And I'm going to break that down at the end. So make sure you guys stay tuned at the end. And again, we're doing an insider club. I'll make this very, very short. If you comment down below and comment insider, we'll send you a link to sign your email up, and we'll send out release dates, box release dates, sports card release dates, whatever that could be, in your email, so you can look at 4 different places to find when boxes are coming out. So comment insider, we'll send you guys the link, and you can sign up free as charge. Okay, but market manipulation, just like stocks, how MMs manipulate the market. Who was pulling the strings here? The role of influencers, breakers, social media hype, and driving prices. This all started, and it started driving prices up, whether you want to believe it or not. But the increasing of these influencers and the increases of breakers over the last few years have driven prices up for boxes, blaster boxes, mega boxes, for $35, $40 for a blaster box, $50, $60 for a mega box, where you're not guaranteed to get anything in these boxes. And if you do, you're probably getting low-end stuff like rookies that you may have never heard of. That may be good. That may be good in the future, but you might have autographs that you never heard of before in your life, and they may never make it to major leagues or football or basketball or whatever that could be. And which is fine, because you need to have some of them in the actual the market and putting these things around there. But for $50, you should expect at least $20 or $30 of cards you can kind of have back, not $2 cards and a $5 card. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's kind of taken over the last few years. It's kind of seems like, at least from the comments that I've been reading and the people I've been talking to at card shows and people I've been talking to on here and other groups and Facebook and things like that, that it seems like the breakers are getting the good cards, and then retail, Walmart, Target, all that stuff, are not getting great cards. They're getting very, very low-end cards. And that's shifted over the last few years, maybe longer than that. But that's what we have seen. And I've talked to a lot of people. Maybe my sample size is small still. So whatever you guys think, shoot us in the comments what you guys think as well. You can always pause the video, shoot us a comment, and let us know in this particular instance what you guys think. But there's also shield bidding on eBay. If you'll know what shield bidding is, it's like me, if I'm trying to sell an Ohtani card and it's really worth like $50, and I put it on like a bid, and it's like an hour left and it's like $5. I would go in there, and not that I do this, on the law, right? But I would go in there and get a different account and shield bid it and bid it up to a certain price where I'm comfortable with and things like that, instead of setting like a limit or things like that. And that creates fake demand, because maybe that car is not worth $50 anymore. Maybe it's worth $10, but now you just bumped it up to $40 or $30, and it's creating demand that, if you look back on how many people bidded on this car, whatever that could be, there wasn't a lot of interest. But since you made 5 accounts, that seems like there's a lot of interest for this card. So when other people sell that card, that drives demand up, that drives the price up, where it's kind of like a fake price. High-end investors, they're treating cards like stocks. A lot of people cashed out and they left. A lot of people were, buying low and selling high and things like that. And it seems like there's a lot more investors in sports cars now than there are just like hobby enthusiasts and just, trying to get, we're trying to do right now. We just got a lot of Topps holidays. We just opened the tins up, because my daughter loves opening tins up. And, I'm sure we have maybe a couple hundred of the Topps holiday cards, because like in one tin, there's like 50 cards, whatever that could be, right? So you might have like 300 or 400 Topps cards, and we're trying to put like the set together, just a base set. That's what collectors do. It builds nostalgia. It builds that community atmosphere. But not a lot of people are doing that now. They're just going after that low-end card and trying to sell high, or trying to get that high-end card and sell it for even higher. So that has changed over the last 5 years. So manipulation, market manipulation, those 3 things are kind of like driving up the prices, I believe, of these cards. But I'm sure there's more things that if you want to say in the comments, let us know in the comments. Overproduction. Some people call this the junk pack or the junk wax era 2.0, because there's so much production. There's so many varieties of sets. There's so many variations of cards in these sets. I may get a numbered card out of 50, and I might get the same exact card that's not numbered. And it doesn't make any sense, right? So how are manufacturers like Panini, how are Topps They're flooding the market with endless parallels, inserts, reprints, so on and so forth. I'm getting the Topps 35th anniversary. I'm getting Mike Schmidt cards and things like that that are new now. It's the same card, but it's a new card, new version. So, like, what is that? What is happening? How is that impacting the overall psyche of the hobby? How is it impacting the overall price of the hobby? There's so many different variations. Topps has bazillion different sets and Panini and all this kind of crazy stuff that's happening. What is happening to the market? Are we in Wax Pack era 2.0, like a lot of people say? I think it's a variation. I think that there are a lot of cards being produced, but there are a lot of variation cards inside these sets that are being produced too. Which, don't get me wrong, a lot of them are cool cards. So I love opening and getting an auto. I love opening and getting a numbered card and things like that, or these cool like Kaboom cards and stuff like that. But again, I don't want to be spending $35 for a blaster box or $40 for a blaster box, or I'm not really guaranteed any. So I don't really do that too much. Every now and then we get a couple blaster boxes here and there because my kids love opening the cards. But we really buy singles in the cards we want. We won the Santa card for the holiday, so we go on, eBay and get a $10 Santa card. Instead of trying to spend $50 or $50 or $100 on whatever and not even guaranteed a card. So we go a lot with the singles now than compared to just buying blasters and things like that. But what is the impact of Fanatics, them entering the space of sports cards and the hobby of sports cards? What does that mean for the future? Are they making the overproduction happen? Are they going to make the Wax Pack era 2.0, like a lot of people say in our comments? Like, what is happening with Fanatics, and how is that the case? So what do you guys think in the comments about Fanatics taking over and stuff like that? We're going to kind of hint at that a little bit. We're going to get to that a little bit later in the video as well. Scarcity is very key for value. So overproduction, if you're overproducing, but you're releasing them in scarce values and things like that, that increases the value because it's key for value, because now I can find there's a Topps 2025 Series 1 box there. And those things, we opened a couple of them, and we've been, I've heard a lot that there hasn't been a lot of hits with those. But, you see one on the shelf every 2 weeks, you're bound to go grab that, So it's like a mind thing that Topps and Fanatics and Panini and all them are doing with the market, and like releasing a certain amount, and then, collectors go to the store, they don't see him, then collectors go back to the store, they don't see him, then they go back to the third time, oh, there it is again, I got to get a couple, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a mind thing that I believe that they're doing, and, overproduction is destroying all this stuff because they're overproducing so many. I mean, I don't know the stats. I don't know the stats on how many blaster boxes they produce a year. I'm sure you can look at that online, but, is it millions? That's like a crazy amount, and how many cards are produced of each different variation. So it's a big thing that you have to look at, and it's a big thing that could be manipulating the market, and it's a big thing that could be charging or making junk pack era 2.0 start all over again, just like the early 90s and mid 90s. Retail and breaker scams, you have to watch out, because the average collector got screwed because of these retail and breaker scams. What I mean by this is like the rise and fall of retail flipping first, right? Target, Walmart, it was like in chaos years ago, right? People were fighting over boxes, they're fighting over these things, and then they're trying to resell them. Even in the summertime, we were looking for the Donruss Optic 2023s, and, people were buying mega boxes by mega boxes for $50, and they're reselling for $150, an hour later. And it's like people were waiting for the person to stock the shelves, and there's like lines and lines. Like, I've seen that just in the last year. It was worse a couple years ago. So that's just like wild to think that these are sports cards. And I made a video maybe 6 months ago or last year, or wherever it was, if you scroll back in our videos, right? And it was like, if I put gold on the shelf, like gold bars, and I put sports cards on the shelf, like, Topps Cosmic Chrome, or like these like the Sapphire Edition, or like Donruss Optics, if I put them on the shelves, people are going to buy them first before gold. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but I mean, that's what it feels like, at least. So, like, The rise and fall of retail flipping is those chaos years ago, and it's kind of still is chaos a little bit now, right? Breakers charging insane prices. Like, I would love to get into a Topps Cosmic Chrome to get a box of that, because but the $600, $700 now, I ain't spending that much money on a hobby box where I'm not even guaranteed nothing. I'd rather just go buy singles for that much money and get the cards that I wanted. Breakers are selling each spot for $100, on these things when they're opening them up, and they're making thousands of dollars on this stuff, and I've seen it personally. And like, they're running shady practices, like they're flipping out packs and it's not the right pack, and all different kind of crazy stuff. And that is just not good for sports cards in general, and not good for the market. And these are scams that are happening now, so you have to really watch out. I've been kind of leery about breakers and things like that. You have to watch it. They have a lot of followers. They have a good following, yes. But even though some people are trying to start it now and get into it, you have to watch what they're doing, how they're doing it. So it's just crazy. There's also like fake rating scandals too that I haven't really been a part of, that I haven't witnessed, but I mean, there are fake rating scandals that, how the average collector got screwed, and how this all goes back to the bubble where we're at. And are we on the top of the bubble? Are we going down the bubble? And all this kind of crazy stuff that's been happening. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was what happens next. Should you still invest in sports cards? Are we, like, now in 2025, in March 4th, 2025, are we at rock bottom? Or is there still room to fall? Like, where are we at? It's always like we always play stocks, and we're like, do we get in this thing? Are we in the middle? Is it going to go back up? Is it going to go back down? As it's falling, are we in the middle? It's going to, like, how is this happening, right? And the same thing's happening with sports cards. Like, are we at rock bottom now, and now we're going to go back up? Or are we falling in the midst of falling? It's a hard thing to look at when you're in the moment, and you have to kind of look back, and 5 years from now, you'd be like, oh yeah, you were in the whatever, right? And you could have saw that you were in the bubble and you were dropping down, right? But no, I mean, it's hard to see, where we're at when you're in it currently. So it's very tough. Is there going to be a shift back into collecting versus investing? I'm telling you, there's a lot of investing now. Is going to be a shift back to collecting? Is people just going to say, yeah, forget it, I'm just doing collecting and buying singles, and that's it, and I'm done with it, right? What to look for in a down market? What are some opportunities to buy in a down market? If we are in a down market now, I don't believe we are yet, but if we are, what are some things you can buy? There's some things you can go on. You can go on 3 o'clock in the morning and look for eBay auctions that are ending at 3 o'clock in the morning on your time, or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and now people bid on these things. So you can find some things for cheap if you want to get cards and you want to save them for your collection. So I would definitely suggest just buying singles and try to stay away from the blaster boxes and hobby boxes, because they're just kind of outrageous right now. I'm hoping hopefully these things will drop in price, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't go up in price. I can't imagine it going up in price and spending $60 or $70 for a blaster box, even though some people do that now. And buy these things after market and buy them for double the price because they're in FOMO mode. They're the fear of missing out. So in closing here, throughout this video, I kind of covered how the sports card bubble formed, who was behind the hype, I guess you could say, and why didn't we see a full-blown collapse like some people predicted, a couple of years ago. But the real danger, I guess you can say, is the one thing that can actually send the market into a real crash, and this is Fanatics' monopoly over the industry. Now, monopoly is like one thing, and they can charge any prices they want, and there's no competition. I learned back when I was in business school, right? Right now, Fanatics, they control the licensing for MLB, for NFL, and NBA cards, the 3 main markets, and they've been aggressively, I guess you could say, expanding their research, because if they mismanage production, if they flood the market with too many cards, like overproduction and things like that, or push out smaller competitors, the NHLs or the racing and things like that they don't really own right now, we could be looking at another junk pack, wax pack era 2.0. And if collectors and investors lose faith in long-term and the value of the modern cards, then we will definitely see a real collapse. And prices on even top-tier products could tank. like these top products. So the worst part, there's no competition left. There's no real competition left. And without competition, there's nothing stopping them from making decisions, that benefit the bottom line, like their bottom line, their bottom dollar line, and hurts collectors. So we're in a kind of limbo now. So what do you think? Are we headed towards another crash, or is the market just evolving? Drop a comment below. Let us know. Let me know where you guys stand. And I guess you could say, if you want to stay ahead of the game, make sure you guys subscribe, like all that stuff, and shoot us a comment. And what do you guys think in the comments? And again, let us know what you think about the Insider Club. Send us a comment, say Insider, and we'll send you that link, and you can sign up free through your email. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We appreciate you guys watching at all, and we always appreciate you guys commenting, and we'll get back to each and every one of you, and hopefully we'll get a good, I guess you can say, discussion going in our comment section. So, but other than that, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.